Welcome, class. Let's settle in. Today, in this explainer, we're going to deconstruct a fundamental tension between optimizing a system and actually satisfying a human user. This is a tension that plagues nearly every modern business, and it stems from a profound misunderstanding of what we are actually designing. As emerging design thinkers, you're frequently going to find yourselves confronting organizations that confuse system efficiency with user satisfaction. Today, we cure that confusion.
Our lecture today is divided into 4 distinct movements. We'll be covering the operational illusion, deconstructing the dentist valley, the sensory divide, and finally, the strategic shift. Let's jump right in. Movement 1, the operational illusion, or the false safety of the spreadsheet. I want you to consider this operational playbook for a dental clinic. Imagine we've been hired to audit them, and they proudly hand us this perfectly mapped system. Step 1. Online booking takes a mere 10 seconds. Step 2, front desk check-in is a brisk 30 seconds. Step 3, the root canal procedure itself is optimized to exactly 15 minutes. And Step 4, payment and exit take just 1 minute. It's a seemingly flawless straight line of maximum revenue efficiency and zero operational lag. Truly, the ultimate spreadsheet process. So, looking closely at these impeccable metrics, I ask you, how many of you would confidently say this is a well-designed, successful business? If you were managing this clinic looking only at these timestamps, you'd likely assume you had engineered an absolute operational triumph. It is incredibly easy to fall into this trap. But this brings us to a critical realization. On a spreadsheet, yes, this is a masterpiece of throughput. The process engineers are probably popping champagne. But here is the actual reality. The business is collapsing. Patients are leaving terrible reviews, and they are never, ever coming back. Why does this perfectly optimized straight-line result in a burning building? That leads us to part 2, deconstructing the dentist's valley. When does the experience truly begin? To truly understand why this highly efficient clinic is failing, we have to completely discard the spreadsheet. We need to map the actual human journey. Notice that while the process map assumes the experience started the exact moment the patient walked through the front door, the true human timeline begins days prior. It stretches into a terrifying, unquantifiable valley of emotion. We have to map from the trigger, through the arrival, to the climax, and finally the exit. Let's examine that true starting point, the trigger. At T-3 days, the journey actually begins at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. The user wakes up with a throbbing toothache. They're pacing the dark hallway, they open their phone and frantically Google, "Can an infected tooth kill you?" followed closely by, "How much does a root canal cost without insurance?" The user is wide awake, terrified, and financially panicked. This is a massive, heavy reality to which our strictly timed process map is completely and blissfully blind. Movement 3, the sensory divide, the vast gap between logged data and human reality. We now transition from that initial trigger at home right into the physical environment of the clinic. Note the discrepancy here during the arrival. The process map logs a simple 30-second check-in, but the journey map captures an invisible sensory reality. The patient walks in, immediately hit by the smell of clinical antiseptic, a potent anxiety trigger. The receptionist cheerfully asks how they are. The patient politely says, "Fine." This is what we call the say/do gap. They say they're fine, but look at their actions. They're sweating, avoiding eye contact, their knuckles are stark white as they grip the clipboard. If you design only for what they say, you entirely miss the sheer terror in what they do. As we reach the climax of the procedure, let's compare the two approaches again. To the clinic, this step is just a highly efficient 15-minute billing code, an optimized procedural step. But to the patient, the moment that dental chair leans back, they suffer a total loss of autonomy. They cannot speak. They cannot leave. The high-pitched whine of the drill is not a performance metric. It is a paralyzing sensory peak of terror. The system sees 15 minutes of work, but the human experiences 15 minutes of profound vulnerability. Finally, we hit the exit. During this stage, the system applauds itself for a brisk 1-minute financial transaction. The metrics look great. However, the system utterly fails to recognize the human reality of the room. The patient is standing at the front counter, half of their face paralyzed by Novocaine. They're drooling slightly, desperately trying to verbally confirm their credit card PIN in a crowded waiting room. We have successfully optimized their wallet, absolutely, but we have stripped them entirely of their dignity. Which brings us to our final movement, the strategic shift, prioritizing the heart rate over the clock time.
Having laid bare the failures of the operational illusion, we must now establish a new philosophical mandate for your work. I want you to visualize the dentist's valley. If the process map is a perfectly horizontal line of corporate efficiency, the human journey is a plunging U-shaped curve entirely beneath it, a curve of fear, pain, and embarrassment. That massive empty space between the straight line up top and the plunging curve below, that is exactly where trust dies, and customers are lost forever. Businesses fail because they spend millions optimizing the straight line up top, while their users literally drown at the bottom of the curve below.
If you take absolutely nothing else away from today's lecture, I want you to commit this golden rule of the divide to memory. Process mapping measures the system's clock. Journey mapping measures the human's heart rate. A system can run perfectly on time without a single second of operational lag. But if you do not design for the heart rate, you will irrevocably fail the human being you are meant to serve. The distinction between these two approaches will define your role in the professional world. A process map asks a very simple question: did the transaction complete? If you only ask this question, if you only design for the clock to ensure the machinery runs on time, you are merely a mechanic. But a journey map asks a much harder, much deeper question: did the user keep their dignity? To be a true designer, a true strategist, you must ask this second question. You must design for the heart rate. As we conclude this explainer, and as you step out of this lecture and into your actual careers, I leave you with one final question to ponder. It's a choice you will have to make on every single project you undertake. Will you build comforting spreadsheets that make businesses feel perfectly safe while they secretly fail? Or will you step into the valley, prioritize dignity, and dare to become true designers of the human experience? The choice is entirely yours. Class dismissed.